Welcome to Australian Survivor Archives, the only podcast going over the complete history of Australian Survivor from Whalers Way right through to the current day. We are back for another contestant interview. I'm very, very excited for our episode today. Plenty to talk to this guest about, and maybe one of the randomest interviews this guy has ever done, because I can imagine this is a topic that often isn't requested of him to talk about when it comes to interviews. I'm going to introduce him properly in just a moment. I'll first of all say my name is Ben, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague here. And I want to add that I, for one, am not a motorbike rider. Let's just start off right now, this interview, with me saying that.
Hi, Ben. Hi, listeners. As you know, my name's Matt Dyson. And Ben, you're right. This is such a great, big interview going to be happening today. You said when we looked at the cast of this season, you said that this was the biggest celebrity on this season. You picked it. So, you know, normally I often do the introductions. You're a bit of more of a sort of a motorcycle and Formula One sort of guy than I am. So I think it would only do justice, Ben, if you do the introduction here, because I don't want to get this wrong, because like you said, he's a big celebrity.
Well, I got to say that this is going to be one of two Australian Survivor contestants we will ever speak to on the show who's had a movie made about him. So that's like starting off right now with the big guns here. This is a guy who won the very first 500cc World Championship by an Australian. He's a member of the Australian Sports Hall of Fame. He's had a straight on a Grand Prix circuit named after him. He's classified as a MotoGP legend. This guy raced in 100 Grand Prix, won 18 of them, went on to do touring cars, raced against the likes of Peter Brock, did Bathurst, did all these great things. And yet here we are to talk about his time on a little reality show 15 years ago. We speak, of course, of the one, the only, Mr. Wayne Gardner. Wayne, first of all, it is a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Oh, good morning, Ben and Matthew. How are you guys?
Good to be here. Great.
Hey, certainly a very strange request. You know, after I walked off that show, the Survivor show, many years ago, 15 years ago, never really gave it another second thought until you guys contacted me. So, but it's a pleasure to be here. So how can I help you? And got some good questions, I'm sure.
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it, Wayne? I think I got in touch with you maybe almost a year ago when we first started having the idea of doing this podcast and covering your season of Survivor, and got in touch with you. I didn't know whether you were going to message me back or anything. I thought, you've probably got a million other things to do. But one thing we find about Survivor is it's something that a lot of people like talking about, because it really is a unique experience. It's a game that very few ever get to play. And you were lucky enough to play it all those years ago in 2006 when, of course, Channel 7 had the celebrity version. So, Wayne, we would love to hear, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear, how did the whole experience come about? How did you end up on Australian Celebrity Survivor?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, I was a big fan of Survivor, and I watched the American series, and then, of course, never missed it. I thought it was really intriguing, and I liked the style of, basically army games, and training to make TV, and I thought it was a really good sort of, well put together product. And it always intrigued me, and I used to keep thinking, was it real? Did they really not eat for that long? And did they really have to go and, dig up witchetty grubs or eat animals or leaves or whatever and plants? And so I always thought it was behind the scenes they were feeding it, but it's not true. Because when the opportunity came along, when Channel 7 I offered up the opportunity to do a celebrity Survivor, I jumped at it because I thought it'd be good fun. And luckily, as though I was living in Manly at the time, and luckily Guy Leechy lived there, and he also got invited as well. So we were mates. So we both went in there holding each other's hands. So we had a pact that we'd work together and to try and win this show, or this series.
Ben, this could be the first pre-alliance of celebrity version.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, we're going to ask you about that because, you guys obviously were great mates out there, had a great alliance, and we wanted to kind of find out if this was just a natural connection you guys had when you hit the beach. But, what did you guys go, surfing together? Did you go swimming? Did Lychee train you on the beach with some Iron Man tactics? Was that kind of your bond beforehand?
Well, at the time I was motor racing. I was still racing cars at the time, so I didn't have a lot of time, but Leechy's super fit, so for him to go and do this series, particularly all the games and the athletic side of it. Oh mate, he was a weapon. He was unstoppable. So I knew that, my brains, his brawn, it was going to be a good pairing. So we had an alliance before we even departed Manly. So we were going to, look after each other and work together. So. But we ran into a whole lot of other obstacles. We never thought that would happen, and then we got separated, and so certainly spun us into a spin at some times.
Did you know beforehand, before the game started, that you guys would actually be on the same tribe, that it was going to be virtually a males versus females, or was that not until the game actually started that you were lucky enough to actually be teamed up with him?
No, we didn't know anything what it will be, but we were looking after, each other, and we'd have a little secret talks all the time, what about this, what about that? But when we first joined up, we went out on a big yacht and we were, on an old ketch style yacht. And then we anchored off just off the shore and in Znumia, wasn't it? So we didn't know what was going to happen. It was all a great surprise. Next minute, all the locals came out in their canoes rowing out to us, and we had to get in their little canoe things and get ferried into the island. So that came as a great surprise, and we had no information of what was going to happen. All they did was said, well, they were giving us champagne on the yacht before we got off and feeding us up, and said, and all of a sudden the dynamics changed. They said, here comes your transport, and then you can't take anything with you. You can take like one item, and I think it was like a towel or whatever you decided to take, and or one piece of jewelry or something like that. And you have to get in the boat, leave everything behind. We went, wow, this is getting a bit serious. And then we ferried onto these little canoes and like tribal type canoes, and they ferried us into the beach. And we were in the middle of nowhere, and we looked up over the escarpment, and there was not a house or person to be seen. So it was a little bit daunting, to be honest. We get off there and they said goodbye, and they just paddled off with it. And we went, well, what do? We all looked at each other and said, well, what's the plan? I was working. We were put off in boys and girl groups separate to start with, and of course then the game started, and then we realised that we had to build a hut or some shelter, and everyone just looked around and went, who's going to do it? And I said, well. Everyone was looking at me, and I guess because of maybe I was probably one of the oldest there and had some experience. And then I started looking around then for a tree, and then it kind of evolved into leaders of the team from there. You know what I mean? So then we started collecting palm fronds and looking around, trying to understand what to do. It was a very surreal feeling, because when when your boat just disappears and they leave you nothing, and you've got no food to eat. I think we had a knife. They gave us one machete between all of us, and we had to share that. I think they gave us some fishing line, a reel of fishing line, and it was very, very, very basic stuff. So, and then it was quite late in the afternoon, and we really had to start working hard to try and work out where to go and what to do, and to get some shelter out of our heads. So that's where the team companionship started working, and saying someone had to call the shots. And between myself and I think I'm forgetting one of the politician,
David Oldfield,
I think we then started kind of getting our act together, and we started collecting fronds and coconuts and so that's where the game began.
I'd love to find out. I know Guy has spoken out and said that he often got requests to appear on celebrity reality shows at the time, and he always said, like, I would only ever do Survivor because he was a fan. Had you been offered, like, we had skating shows back then, dancing shows, singing shows. Had you been offered, appearances on another celebrity show? And if so, did you hold out for an opportunity like Survivor?
Well, I didn't know Celebrity Survivor was going to come along, but, certainly dancing shows wasn't something that I'm very good at. And some of these love affair ones, and they're certainly not my style. So, I just went for something that's fun. And and as I said, I was a fan of watching Survivor, and I thought it'd be really cool. And then I used to keep thinking, is this real? But when we got there, I soon learned that it was, so it was a pretty daunting experience.
Two quick things before we get back into the game. We're asking everybody these questions. One of them, obviously, we understand if you don't want to answer it, Wayne, but we realise you were all given an appearance fee for appearing on the show because you're not playing for money, you're playing for charity. Do you remember how much you were given? Because it seems everyone's been offered different amounts of money, so it's interesting to find out this.
That's a very good question. I know that it wasn't too much. So, yes, I did get offered and I did take a fee, but it wasn't a lot of money. The amount I couldn't tell you off the top of my head now. I mean, that was a long time ago. So, yeah, no, I don't remember. But I just wanted to do it just for the game and for the fun. And I thought it'd be pretty cool spending, 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it takes up there. All my family was at home, my wife then and my two sons, and they were down on my farm, and obviously communication was cut off. So they were just wondering, how's it all going, So it was very quiet for them.
The other one I'd love to find out, each contestant got a luxury item, sort of a personal item that meant a lot to them that they wanted to take out there. Elton, of course, took a football. Amber's taken mascara. Fiona's taken tarot cards. I mean, do you remember what your item was that you took out there?
I wanted to take my mobile phone, but they wouldn't let it. Geez, no, there were certain things and restrictions on that. No, I can't tell you what I took. I think it might have been a towel or something that I thought that I could use at night, make it into a pillow. I just wore shorts and T-shirt. No, I think I tried to find something that was useful that you could use in many roles, I'm sure it was something like a towel, a big towel that I could use for comfort more than anything else.
It's funny because when we interviewed Kim Johnson, who of course was the first boot, she said her luxury item was a 1,000 thread Egyptian cotton sheet. And that she was hoping to rug herself up at night, and then her tribe started using it as basically a tarp on the ground, so she didn't even get to use it properly. But a story she told, she said when they were on the way over there on the plane, she ended up having a chat to you, and she was told that it was basically going to be a bit of a soft survivor, that they were going to be given tents and water and all that. And you looked at her and said, Kim, this is going to be a real survivor. And she's like, no, like, I've been told there's going to be, we're going to get all the luxury stuff. And of course, when she got there, that she realised that you were right, that it was actually a proper survivor. Like, had you been told much leading into it, like that there was going to be any difference, or did they tell you this is going to be a real survivor?
No, they did make it very clear from the beginning that it was going to be real. And I kept thinking that they're going to fudge it. However, we were supplied with water, bottles of water, because the water they thought might have been contaminated, the natural water stream. But apart from that, they walked us around and said, you can eat this and you can't eat that, and don't eat these berries because you'll be taken to hospital. We had obviously a film crew walking around us all the time, which was only a bare skeleton crew. We had a doctor on site in case something happened. For example, eating something. In fact, it did for me. I had to use it in the first couple of nights. It was very scarce. Oh, the other thing was that the toilets, they had I didn't know how that would work, but I thought it was like shit in the forest like a bear, that's what I thought they were going to do. But they told us that there was a porta cabin over there. But the funny thing was, one night I've been eating all those, it's called jungle spinach, and we'd been mixing it up and cooking it in salt water, so it impregnates the salt into it to give it some taste. And so we're eating coconuts in the day because Leechy couldn't catch any fish. He was useless at it. He says, I'll get the fish. And no fish turned up. So we just lived on the basic fruits and coconuts and coconut milk and this spinach, this jungle spinach. And they pointed us out to it that if you boil it up, you can eat it. So we're eating this day after day after day, and I start shitting like a big black Alsatian, so it goes through you. And and one night I woke up with this after about 10 days or something, because I hadn't been to the toilet for quite long periods. And then I woke up with this huge stomach ache, And I went, oh my God, I got to run to the toilet. And I ran to the toilet, and this is like at 4:00 in the morning. And there's one of the girls are inside there. I don't know what she's doing. She's inside there, and I'm banging on. I need to go. Go away. I said, oh, I'm desperate. Please. And and they're going, go away. And obviously, typical girls, they took about an hour in there, and I couldn't wait any longer. So I hung my ass over a tree that fell over and had the biggest let me see, green shit in my life. And I went, oh my God, where did that come from? I thought the local cows had come by and shit everywhere. So I went, but you know what? It felt so good.
Wow.
Well, Ben, I think this is going to lead into a question.
Yeah, I think there's a follow-up.
Where you been? I said, I've been running around in the bush trying to find somewhere to have a shit. And I said, but I feel so good because 2 weeks of it have come out in one go. And then then we're riding that day. They were all laughing at me because I was a fool. And then we had to go to one of the games, and we had to get in a rubber ducky, and we were going across to another island. And the girls are looking at us. They said, wow, what had happened to you? And I'm going, what happened? And they're going, your eyes are so blue now. And I said, well, I had a great big dump this morning. In the early hours when I over a tree.
Wow.
So yeah, it was very relieving, may I say. Sorry to go on about that. It was a very memorable moment, may I say.
It's really interesting you bring that up, Wayne, because we have to follow up with another question. When we had David Mason on, he told us a story. He wouldn't tell us who, but there was a contestant who, once they were voted out, they obviously went back to a hotel room, were hanging out with Dicko, and they basically went to Dicko's toilet and did a massive shit. And it was a massive green long thing, and then left it in Dicko's toilet. So I don't know if maybe after you had relieved yourself that time, that was you that maybe went into Dicko's room and left a giant turd to, continue on with this path. Do you know anything about that?
No, it wasn't me, because I left it. It was like a cow patty, in the paddock.
It was in the jungle, not in Dicko's room.
Long thing. It was all over the place. It was like a spray painting job, So
it's funny. Anyway. What you described, Wayne, is exactly what David Mason described, which was in Dicko's toilet. So it sounds like maybe
whoever was
eating
the jungle spinach. I think it might have been Lychee.
Well, that's Matt's money. My money's on Justin Melvey. Yeah.
So it was probably Leechy, more than likely.
You talk about the food. David Oldfield, he really seemed to step up and be in his element with the cooking of the food. And I know later on at the merge in episode 3, there was a tribe swap and he went over to Moso. But was that what was so good about David Oldfield? He just seemed to really be in his element, and especially like cooking up meals for everyone.
Yeah, well, David he must be a bit of a chef at home. But it was a bunch of guys, and who's going to be the cook? Well, of course, David was, So David's the one that wears the dress around the team, So
he said he's a bit of a metrosexual, so yeah.
He said that.
Huh?
He did say on the show that he was a bit of metrosexual. Metrosexual,
yeah. A bisexual then. I went,
no.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I never noticed. So, but no, he stepped into that role pretty good. He had a bit of a chef style of hand on the whole thing. So, but yeah, he was great. He was, a typical politician. He was always working around the angles all the time. But no, I didn't have a problem with any of the guys. They were all really great, so they were good.
Had you met Elton Flatley before? Was he somebody that you had come across paths with before? Or was that the first time you met him when you were out there on Moso?
First time, yeah. No, everyone was really good in their own different ways, They're all different personalities, and I'm sure they said the same, but there was never any problems, as I said, with the men. That was all good.
I'll just correct myself. I should say Kakula, Matt. I feel like you were going to jump down I meant Kakula to open that with. When Gabby shows up, now we know you had some interesting moments with Gabby, but I think you described her when you saw her coming on the boat. I believe you described her as a model bimbo. Your thoughts on Gabby, and like when she first comes on the beach, are you trying to kind of talk to her, and like what was your reaction when she starts living out there with you?
Well, when they swapped the teams around and the girls came and joined Leechy and myself, we had like a harem, So it was And the first time I met Gabby was she was laying on the beach, like in the water, lapping on her, like a model, you know, and everyone was sort of goggling at it, including myself. And I went, wow, this is going to be fun. You know, beautiful looking girls around. But she didn't say much. She just laid in the sun for most of the day in the beginning. And then, of course, the other girls were great and started sitting around talking about what we're going to do and trying to work out what our roles are in the team and where our strengths and weaknesses are. And she never joined us. And then we decided to go and get, firewood and coconuts and things like that. And we asked her, would she join us, help us? But she didn't want to move her ass at all. She just wanted to lay in the sand on the beach. So everyone, including me, I was extremely upset by that because I was kind of leading them all to get organised, you know, now that we've swapped teams and they've put Leechy and myself with the women. And so I was just asking for help, you know, so we can, you know, firewood and keep warm at night, et cetera, et cetera. But she did nothing. She just wanted to lay on the beach and said, no, I'm not doing that. I said, come and join us, please, and help us. No, not doing that. So, you know, she was a lazy cow, if you ask me. So that wasn't a good start in my eyes when everyone was pitching in and doing their thing to survive. You know, that's what it's about.
It was an interesting first episode because only 9 contestants started on the yacht. Of course, later on that day, that was when Justin Melvey went over. He turned up in the show over into the female tribe, so he was the only male on that tribe. Of course, we just discussed Gabby came onto your team as the only female. But then in the later into the was it the immunity challenge or reward challenge that Ben Wynn turned up in the show. Do you know what the story was behind Ben Wynn? Because obviously he wasn't a celebrity. He didn't start the game. He was a jungle survival expert, SAS member. He ended up, you guys won the pig challenge, Ben Wynn. Ultimately, he was voted out the next episode anyway. But do you know much about Ben Wynn and what he was actually doing on the show?
No. That came as a surprise. I didn't understand it, but that's what the show was about, throwing all different things at you to confuse you. You know, that's what the producers are trying to do, is disorientate you, not get comfortable, always look hungry. They're looking for they're trying to annoy you all the time so that you start lashing out at other members and even the crews, the TV crew, or they'd always pick up on things like, oh, I go, geez, I'd love a cold beer. And then the next minute in one of the competitions, there was beer for offer. You know what I mean? So they pick on the different things, what's happening and the words that come out of their mouth. So having him there, I didn't understand what it was about. But again, it was all put in place to spin you around in circles and get dizzy.
On the show, it showed him, you know, being a survival expert. He took you out in the bush, especially you. It seemed that you and him would go out and he was showing you what you can use to eat and all that. Yeah. Ben, of course, he reckons that was all fake, that Ben Wynn didn't know what he was doing. Did Ben Wynn know what he was doing? Was he a survival expert? And did he actually help you guys out to know what you can eat, or was that just a bit more for show?
I think it was more of a show because I didn't learn too much from him as well. You know, we got briefed prior to the show about, as I said to you, about what to eat and what not to eat. But yeah, he came along, but he gave us nothing. You know what I mean? I was a little surprised, and I remember I was a bit wary of what was he meant to be doing on the show. I didn't get it, you know. So, but again, they tried to do that to confuse you on and what's it about.
So was there any pressure from production or anyone to vote him out as soon as you could? Because obviously Gabby stayed when you guys lost the first, you know, the immunity challenge in the second episode. Ben Wynn goes, but was there a reason why you guys didn't keep Ben Wynn? Obviously, he's a big guy. He would have been helpful in challenges, where Gabby, who didn't seem like you were getting along with, stayed. That's what we're not quite sure. Was there a bit of pressure seeing he wasn't a celebrity to maybe, hey guys, let's get this guy out of here. He was just, you know, for one episode and get him out?
Well, he didn't, to be honest, he didn't really fit in. And I think everyone was a bit confused. So I think that, you know, the producers throw that stuff in there to bedazzle you, you know, and But yeah, next minute he's got turfed out. But he didn't bring anything of value to the group. I think that's probably more than anything. And I didn't understand why he was even there. And next minute he disappears. So yeah, I was confused.
15 years later, we're also still very confused. He's also disappeared. We cannot find the guy, and it's interesting because it's the great mystery of your season is who he's been. When even David Mason couldn't give us an answer of who this guy is, so it's interesting to kind of hear that because you're the first Kakula member we've talked to and been able to chat about Ben, and he's Matt hoping that you've got this great enigma story. This guy's brilliant, and yeah, no, I like hearing that he did nothing.
Confused. Yeah. No, I was confused about the whole thing. Did you guys ever realise that I went out of the show temporarily?
We did not. No. This sounds like a fun story, though, Wayne.
Yes. On about the second or third night on there, we were wandering around still because we didn't collect enough firewood, and everyone was putting in. I was walking around in the nighttime trying to collect more firewood because we didn't have enough. And it's obviously pitch black, and I walked into a tree and a stick in my eye, and it poked me in the eye severely.
Wow.
And I went and laid down, and I think it was with the girls at that point. And my eye was really killing me, and there is a doctor on call behind the scenes, and I had to get up in the night because I couldn't sleep and my eye was throbbing. And basically, I walked into a tree with a stick sticking out, hard stick, and it poked me straight in the eye. And I was in agony and big pain. And, of course, you don't have any medicines or anything like that. They gave me a couple of headache tablets, hoping it'd get better. But I had a night of hell. If I remember that night, it was raining a lot too. It was pissing down rain. And we were laying on all the stones and the wet sand. Anyway, come early in the morning, the doctor said, well, let's see how it is in the morning. And I couldn't see out of it. They had to put a cover over my eye, and they said, oh, we've got to take you out of the show. And I said, okay. I said, look, I'll leave the show because my eye is extremely bad, and I couldn't see out of it. And I was nervous about losing the sight of my eye. And they took me in a van, and it didn't show it on TV, if I can remember now. And they took me into the town, and I went to see a doctor. And this is a funny story. So I had to say goodbye to Leechy, and I wasn't sure, and I had to go, and I said, I'm not sure if I'm coming back. It depends on how bad my eye is. So I've head into this. They took us in one of those Toyota Hi-Ace van things and went into town. Went to see the doctor. The lady come in. She was a lady doctor there, and she said, "Oh, what's wrong?" And they opened my eye up and had a look, and she said, "Oh, it's nasty, and you've done some damage there." And she said, "Oh, well, just here's some things. We'll see how it goes. Do you want to get back in the show?" I said, "Well, I'd love to." And she said, "Oh, okay." She said, "Let me go and find some things for you to give you to take back into the show." So when she went out of the room, I started looking around her office because we had no food, remember? So I'm finding packets of biscuits and Coca-Cola cans. I'm in the fridge and I'm raiding the office, And I've taken food. I've come back. I've shoved it in all my pockets. And then I've come back, and then I've got this patch on my eye, and then they took it off, and it was getting a bit better. And I've come back, and that's right. I came back with a box of matches and a lighter.
Nice.
Stole it out of the doctor's office, and I turned up, and they went, "Oh!" And the camera's on me coming back into the show, and I'm going to push on, and I'll do all this, and I want to stay and whatever, but my pockets are full of cigarette lighters and matches and Coca-Cola and biscuits and things like that. And the cameras are gone. I went, "Hey guys, look at this." I pulled out all the stuff, and they're going, "Yeah!" Because we spent the 2 nights before with, they don't know this, with no fire. We couldn't start a friggin' fire. We had the flints and everything, and we were doing everything, and it was raining, and we could not start a fire. So we were all freezing our nuts off, And then I turned up with this, and then the crew came back, and here we've got this big fire going all of a sudden after 2 nights of impossible.
Cans of Coke around the fire. They weren't a bit suspicious about that?
Huh?
They weren't a bit suspicious about empty cans of Coke just littering the beach there? Or?
No, we were burying all that stuff. And I'm walking around with the lighters in my pocket and the cigarette and the matches and everything and lighting fires everywhere. It was great fun.
Wow.
That's a fantastic... I mean, one minute you're on your way to a hospital in Vanuatu with eye problems, you're probably thinking, oh, geez, and next minute, your pockets are full coming back into the game. But that's what I love, because it clearly...
It was Cooktown, wasn't it? The name of the town, if I remember, something like that, Cooktown or in Vanuatu. So anyway, the good news was that I used the opportunity to scour the doctor's office and take everything from what she had there and pretended that I was really ill, but then I was getting better fast. But I came back with full pockets.
I'm glad you told that story, Wayne, because I think it, obviously your eye is extremely important, as would anyone's eye be, but I think it just shows you how keen you were to actually play this game. Because, I mean, some other people would have said, you know what, I've got an eye problem, I want to go back to Australia, get it properly looked at. Here you are, your main concern is stuffing your pockets for the tribe and getting fired. So, I mean, it's a credit to you. It does actually show you how much you wanted to play this game.
Oh, yeah, no, look, I'm naturally a competitive person. So if I'm going to do it, I do it to, 1,000% of my heart. So, but Leechy and everyone goes, yay, WJ, and so it was really funny when I came back there, and I was the king of the tribe at that point. And plus I was helping them a lot in designing all the huts and things. So, I had a lot to give and a lot to bring to them, and particularly the matches. That was the savior to the whole thing. And ask Leechy sometime; he'll laugh about that.
I love hearing.
And another time we were a bit naughty, Leechy and I. We were going across in one of the boats or the like a ferry thing. They were taking us across to one of the islands, and there was a dark guy, a local native, driving us there in this boat. And as he's gone off to anchor the boat onto the island here, and Leechy and I are in there getting into his cupboard, stealing all his biscuits and all these. We're stealing everything of this the drivers, the locals' food and everything.
Wow.
There was chips and biscuits and beer cans, and we were stuffing it in our pockets and in our hats and everything, and taking it with us off the island.
So everyone had hats on this show, Matt. Are you sticking stuff in your hat, stealing it? That's why Justin, Imogen, they're all wearing hats.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know about you, Ben, but I think it's fair game. If you can get away with stealing some stuff on Survivor, I think, to me, that's fair game.
100%.
It's Survivor, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like, at the end of the day,
you have it all the time.
Well, you had certain rules that you had to follow, but like if there's not explicitly written down, and like I blame Channel 7 for that, because Channel 10, Channel 9, they wouldn't let you get away with that. They're strict on this sort of stuff. They're kind of following down. Obviously, Channel 7 didn't give two shits about fucking just whatever, do it. Like,
no, they had too much trust in Wayne and Leechy.
Yeah, exactly. And Fiona was still in sugar, remember? So.
We're praying all for the opportunities, and even the games, I was studying the games, what you had to do, and then I could see areas where we could improve and speed the time up, and like going underneath the ropes and so on. So any game, I was doing the strategy for them, and I knew we'd win it because the other team weren't thinking that way. I was improvising and trying to shortcut it all the time, and to come up with strategies to get around it. So. No, we went with it with a bit of study in it and understand the rules, and tried to strategize prior to the events happening. So, but it was fun. So all the opportunities, and it is called a Survivor show. We were in the background doing things that weren't always correct, but we were getting there, and we never really got caught.
It's fascinating though. Like, I mean, I'm with Matt. I love hearing stories like that. It always makes it interesting, and it's also with the eye. Like, that's something that. Generally, if they have to pull you from the game to go see a doctor, for the most part, that's it. Like, you don't get given that chance to return. It's kind of, that's where you have to make that decision. So that's the first time I think we've ever heard that. The one I'd like to find out if you remember, though, you mentioned about that night that it was raining. We spoke to Fiona a couple of weeks ago, and she mentioned that they were given the option to leave and go spend the night in a hotel and come back. And she said that she believed that that you guys took that. Do you remember? Like, did you guys take that opportunity to go stay somewhere and then come back after that rain?
No, I never left. There was torrential rain. That's right. No, I just stayed there. I never left it. If you're there to do it, you're going to might as well do it well. That's how my theory is. And as I said, I have a very competitive nature, and I like winning. So I went in there to try and win the show, of course, and I knew I come in there with a lot of strength and a lot of knowledge applied to all this, and it was working until I didn't really think outside the square about how the women would gang up on me and evict me out. I didn't understand that, and I was a bit shocked, to be honest, particularly when I was giving them a good lifestyle and having the Taj Mahal palace that we were living in. So, but that's the way it is. That's okay. I'm comfortable with it. But I had a great time there anyway.
You did a lot of your footage that was shown. You were always fixing something. You're always up, fixing the shelter and all that. Was that what was rubbing you the wrong way with, I guess, the females on your tribe? Because, or especially Gabby, it seemed that she wasn't lifting her weight.
Well, I mean, Gabby's a pretty girl, and she acted that pretty girl lifestyle. She didn't want to do anything. She was, to be honest, dog bone lazy. So, I like the girls that put the effort in and try to help as much as they can within their capabilities. And when it's come to strategizing, she didn't want to know about it. And I'm trying to strategize the games, which is where the strength of Lychee and myself. And some of the girls would listen and sit and listen and work with us, and she just didn't even want to join in the conversation, didn't even know about it, was not interested. She just wanted to walk around and look pretty. So I think first of all, she rubbed me up the wrong way because she wasn't, as a group, as a tribe, she wasn't putting the effort in. And so, I went into, as I said, to strategize the game, and it was all good until one day they said, no, we want to do the game. And I went, no, don't do it. No, you won't get it right. And they went, no, we will. We'll do it. And so I think they went in there to lose, and then so that they could then evict me that night, which they did. So I was kind of like, oh, I know what's going to happen now. I didn't realize once in it, because I was trying to fight to keep winning the games. That way we're not no one's going to be put up for eviction. So, but they outsmarted me on that one.
So you believe the night when you lost the challenge that ultimately led to your eviction, so you believe that the girls helped throw that? Like Nicole, she was the only one in that she kind of fell and was doing that to kind of get you out.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. Because when the girls came over, they were always talking together, and I was a bit of an outcast with them. So obviously, and I was a strong leader in the group, So and as I said, strategies on the games, building the hut, fixing everything, trying to make life as normal as possible for everybody. But they didn't see that, and they just wanted to take that and wanted to run the game their way and with the politics. So it's the way it is.
Did you ever have conversations with Imogen and Nicole about forming a four-way alliance with Leechy to vote out Gabby? Was that ever an option?
No, I mean, I really, Leechy was always talking to the girls, and he had a better communication going with all the girls than myself. I just talked to Leechy, and I was always trying to strategize, as I said, the games and the life or fish or what do we need, or, and getting coconuts and, and finding food for everybody. So I was more like the hunter and gatherer essentially in the conversation. And, I always slept over on one side. Leechy was all cuddled up to all the girls. So, I think that kind of tells the story, doesn't it?
The night you got voted out, Wayne, did you see it coming? Did you think Gabby would turn on you, or were you still hoping that she might stick to that original Kakula lines? And yeah,
it's a good point. I thought that surely they got eyes in their heads that they could see that I brought a lot to the team, a lot of the strengths, like winning the games and so on. It was only that one time they all wanted to run the game themselves, and of course I think they threw it so that they had the eyes in us as a strategy to get rid of me. So once that happened, I was shocked. I was not shocked we lost. I mean, I was shocked that then when we were going to the eviction time ceremony, I just worked it out. I went, I'm going for sure. For sure I'm going. This is what this is about. So I cottoned onto it, but there was nothing I can do because they kicked and fussed and said, no, we want to strategize. And it was a big argument over it all, And I went, okay, all right, you guys want to do it? Good luck, and but you're going to have to do this and this. Yeah, we want to do it. Okay, I stepped aside and let them do it. But again, it was a strategy that they'd worked out. I remember catching them a few times, all talking about it, and I walked up and caught them a couple of times, and they all went quiet. So I kind of had an inkling what was going on. Yeah,
I was going to say that's your first clue is when you walk up and everyone goes quiet. That's when you know they're talking about you. But I know Leechy's reaction when your name came up at Tribal and ultimately got voted out. I mean, Leechy was in shock. I don't know whether he had that much faith in Gabby, although that it was obvious that you and Gabby weren't getting along that well. Leechy obviously still thought that she was going to stay with you because his face was one of the best we've seen. He was in shock that your name ended up being voted out.
Well, I mean, everyone could see what I brought to the tribe, so I had a lot of skills to bring and make their life comfortable. And obviously to plan and strategize the games to win. And then I thought, we'll lose one. And then they'll see where, they'll put me back in there to strategize the rest to keep winning. But I didn't realize that they were going to evict me straight away. It was only that afternoon when we'd lost the strategy. And then I went, I'm an idiot. I know what they're going to do. But I couldn't do much about it, could I? There was nothing I could do because if they didn't assist me with winning, we were still going to lose whether or not they planned it or I planned it, So, and I was, my back was against the wall. And I think Leechy was shocked because he could see what I was doing and what I was bringing to the tribe, but he couldn't do much about it. And I'd say he probably didn't even know that was going to happen.
Was it disappointing, Wayne, that not only you missed out on being a part of the jury by one episode, that you end up finding out that like Lychee and Elton and Gabby and Justin, they all got a chance to come back into the game? Obviously, you probably... I don't know if you were aware of that when you first started the show that this was going to be an option later on down the track, but you missed that opportunity by one episode.
That's right. I didn't know about that. That was never explained to me that they kept surprising us with all different things. As I said to you, there was always a surprise in there of something. So it was never explained that was going to happen. And I was shocked that I got put out, and then Leechy got put out, I think, the next night.
Yep.
And so that's the girls again getting rid of all the guys, you see. So he was shocked, and then of course he went and sat in a hotel, and I got flown out of there virtually straight away. So I was back in Australia then after that. But I was pissed off, because how come him and some others got a second chance and I didn't? And yet I brought a lot of strength to it, and I don't understand why, but anyway, I mean, it was just the way it unfolds, and it's the game. But, I really wanted to try and win it or be part of the jury and be part of the winning, last few members. But and I had the nous to do it and the energy to do it. But I tripped over, the girls. Gabrielle was the leader of Get Rid of WG, So anyway, it's the way it is. It's funny now. I don't care, So it was good.
I got to ask with the WG, like we talked about, obviously Guy Lychee, that's his nickname. Is that your nickname from Lychee, like your WG?
Everyone calls me WG, or my sons call me Waynos.
Waynos.
Yeah, Waynos. My son Remy and Luca. Hey, Waynos. So, but my kids live in Europe, so. I got lots of names, I got lots of dickhead. And
can I just say, Wayne, I would have loved to hear Dicko call you Waynos on the show.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
What were your thoughts on Dicko?
That name came a bit later, actually, after that show, or maybe about the time. So my son was quite young then, but anyway, they call me Waynos or WG or. Magoo is another one, Mr. Magoo. So there's all different names I get over the years. So
what was your take on Dicko as a host?
Oh, Dicko's good. I like Dicko. I mean, he's I've known him and met him lots and lots of times. I got well with him. I got on well with him, but I was always wary of him. I think that's probably I was always waiting for a surprise from him. You know what I mean? I treated him with care. And I didn't try to upset him. I never stood in his way because I can imagine him wanting to it could make your life very, very difficult. And in this certain circumstance on an island with all these members and tribes, I could think about that he could make my life very difficult if I didn't kind of suck up to him or be nice to him or whatever. So Dicko's the sort of guy, if you rub him up the wrong way, mate, he won't let you forget it.
Did he, after you got voted out, did you get a chance to just have a quick little chat with him before you got flown out of Vanuatu? And did he say anything to you about?
No. You're out and they slide you out the back of the show and put you in the van and you're off to the hotel and pack your bags and you're on the plane and gone. That was that quick.
It's fascinating with your vote, like, and hearing it from that, perspective and how you felt, because, we talked a lot in the recap episode about how it was a pivotal episode, because had you and Guy pulled that off, had Gabby sided with you and Imogen went, game's completely different, of course, and Imogen doesn't get an opportunity to come back in the game either, so we're not going to see Imogen at all. And Imogen goes on to very nearly win the season. And it would have been interesting then if maybe they targeted Guy instead of you. Obviously, Guy doesn't get that opportunity to come back in. Maybe you come back in instead of Guy, so therefore it's you and Justin. Like, it's that one episode, I feel, that just this entire season hinges on, and your vote. So, Wayne, even though you didn't quite make it that one step to the jury and you didn't get that opportunity, your vote, I'm going to say, the most important vote in the entire season.
No, well, thank you. Look, I spoke to Lychee when the show was finished and Lychee'd won it. And I said, how did you do that? And he said, I had to go back to the hotel after it and they gave me a chance to go back in. I said, you lucky devil, And and then he said, but what I did was I ate all the food up in the hotel and ordered room service and got my energy levels back up. And he said, and then I thought about what I was doing. And then I said, so I went, and when I got the opportunity to go back in, he said, I was lucky. He said, I went in with a different attitude. I went in with a different way of approaching it, and I changed my strategy. And so he said, when I went in there and I went to another type of strategy, because they gave me time to think about it. And he said, and then when I went there with a different strategy and they didn't know which way I was coming from, and I managed to work my way through and win the show, So Leechy was lucky. It was very lucky. I mean, I probably would have done the same. I would have come out, thought about it, and I thought, I'm going to have different tactics with the girls, and manage it a little bit better and probably suck up to them a bit more and manage it in a more personal way and friendlier way rather than just trying to be, trying to win everything and trying to control the show and the evictions. But it didn't work for me. It worked for a while, obviously. But then, the girls came in and that pushed me out the door. So it's the way it is, I think Gabrielle had the knife in the middle of my back from the beginning.
You must have had a bit of a smile on your face, though, when Leechy tells you that I won. Your final words, you said, may the best man win. I don't know if that was a deliberate, like, hey, I want a man to win. But obviously with the girl stabbing you in the back, Leechy tells you he's won. You must have been like, all right, I don't care how you did it, mate. Good on you.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I was happy for him. If I couldn't win it, then I want Leechy to win it. And I'm sure he'd be the same. We were working as a tag team and we were talking to each other. We go for walks in the bush and, saying, what do you think about this? And it was so we had a lot of time together. Leechy's a good guy and we laughed a lot but we just didn't quite get there. Well, for me anyway, he did. He was lucky and he deserved to win. But may I say, one thing Leechy brought to the show and that no one else could compete with was his fitness level. He was extremely fit in some of those ones where we were running and swimming and all sorts of things and diving under the water and collecting things. And he was extremely good and easy at it, where I was more analytical of what we're doing and engineering the events, So as a team, we were a great team, Leechy and I.
Well, here's a quick question for you then. In your elimination, the immunity challenge that you ultimately lost that led to your elimination, the chasing around the circle there, we read from some production notes that ultimately David Mason wanted to put Leechy and Elton against each other in a sort of a show to see who would win between a wallaby and a Ironman. Who do you think wins that, Wayne? Is it Leechy or is it Elton Flatley?
Oh, without a doubt, Leechy. He's agile. He's got super fitness. Elton's got the brute and the strength. But fitness-wise, wow, Leechy's at another level. I was doing my best, but there's one of them were running around the beach or something, having to do laps or something like that. And I was exhausted from it. I'm a race car driver or motorcycle rider, not an Ironman. So he was doing it easy, but I was out of breath myself. I thought I was going to have a heart attack on the beach.
Well, I mentioned that because, as a motor racing fan, I realise that, motor racers don't often get credit for being incredibly fit, but you obviously come from a different era where it sort of was, I know from Formula One perspective, it was kind of Michael Schumacher changed that in the 90s, and obviously it became a lot more fitness driven. I mean, is that like back when you were racing, this is kind of a tangent, like was fitness even a thing looked at for motorcycle races? Or has that become more of a modern thing?
Actually, yeah, it's a good question. Look, yes, it was. It was coming into our sport in my era, in the 80s and 90s. So yes, it was. But I mean, now the riders and the drivers have gone to extreme levels of fitness now, where they're out cycling and doing 100, 200 kilometers a day in a bicycle before they do the race. You know what I mean? So it varies. Like I'm still a great believer that you got to have reasonable fitness and good fitness in motorcycle racing, but you don't have to be an Ironman to do it. And then, for example, you put Leechy on a motorcycle with his fitness and he wouldn't know what to do. You know what I mean? It's horses for courses. So I always believe in that. My son is now obviously a GP rider and a winner now, and his attitude's a bit like mine. Like, fitness is important, but not super fitness, or what Lychee is.
I got a random follow up to that. When Lychee went in the celebrity race at Albert Park, how did he go? Do you remember?
Not
terribly good. Did he get advice from you? Like, does he call you up and be like, "Hey, I'm in the celebrity race. What do I do?"
Yeah, no, I wasn't in that celebrity race. I don't think I was allowed to go in it because I had racing experience. No, you can give him some tips, but they take all the drivers out and they give them courses out at another track prior to the celebrity race I think they were driving Fords or something like that. I can't remember which.
It's been a while since they've done it. They've stopped doing the celebrity race, which kind of sucks. I used to love the celebrity race.
Well, the cars get all smashed up, and the drivers, they can't just go and step into it when they have no mind. Some of them don't even drive a car before that, so they go through quite a lot of training, and they're trained by professionals. So they're best to do it that way rather than me get involved. But I'm happy to take some of my friends out there and give them tips in the driving. But, they're better off to go out in these courses. It's probably easier. And otherwise they got me yelling at them in the car going, turn, brake, second gear, not third gear, So it's always a challenge. It's very hard to build a lot of experience in a very short period,
Wayne, when the show was over, what was the reaction when it was shown on TV? Obviously, you would have had family members, fans watch you play this great game, especially in 2006. Survivor's still big now, but it was very high up on a lot of people like watching Survivor. Yeah. What was the reaction, the fan reaction?
Oh, they thought it was cool. My kids were watching it and thought, "Dad, you're a dickhead. You got knocked out. The girls took you out. What are you doing?" And then my wife said to me, "I told you before you left, you should have got to be nice to the girls. You got to be nice to the girlies, schmooze them. Don't try to hammer them." And I went, "Yeah, okay." So obviously I didn't listen, and I got in there and I just tried to give my best, and that was to provide them with, shelter and tactics and things like that. And so I didn't play the tactical game very well, and I suppose, that's probably what my ex-wife now says to me. "You weren't tactical enough with me," So, look, you live and learn.
Do you look back on that experience? You mentioned at one point in the show, you said it was one of the toughest things that you had ever done. I mean, do you look back 15 years later and still agree with it? Was it one of the toughest things you ever did?
It was a tough thing, but it was really enjoyable. I loved it. I wanted to stay in it longer, and I was probably more pissed off that I got voted out by the girlies and out-strategized than anything else, because I had visions, and I know I went into the show as one of the favourites to win it, and I was told that several times by the crews, and Leechy and I thought if we'd work together, because as I said, he's got the fitness, and I had the brawn behind, the brains behind the thing. So I thought we'd go in there as a good tag team. And at the end of the day, we both agreed and made the best man win. And he did. So I'm happy for him. And as I said, if it wasn't me, it was him. But I've just got a competitive nature. So if I'm going to do it, I go and give it my best shot, So, but anyway, I was blindsided at the end of the day.
It's interesting because obviously now with the Channel 10 version, they've done a couple of seasons, Champions vs Contenders, where they sort of get, celebrities up against regulars. Matt was on the first one, and we've seen people like Stephen Bradbury, Simon Black, Andrew Eddinghausen, these sort of people play. And it's actually interesting. You remain the only motor racer ever to play Australian Survivor. They've never had one on the one. And actually, even if I look at the US Survivor, you had Julia Landau on one of the seasons, sort of a NASCAR racer. They've never really gotten, motorbike or car races on, which it's interesting because, you talk about that tactical side of your mentality and your game. And, there's a lot of tactics in motor racing out there, isn't there? So it's kind of interesting they haven't explored it. Like, maybe get an ex-V8 racer out there, get a Mark Webber out there or something like that to play. It'd be interesting to see one of these guys come and play Survivor.
Yeah, motor racing is about tactics and strategies, building strategies. And, during a race, where you're going around, at light speed, and with the bikes up to 350 kilometers an hour, but you're thinking and you're planning ahead every corner, every lap. You're counting down the laps. You're trying to work out where their strengths are, where your strengths are. You're trying to work out where's the best corner to approach them and what's the timing of that corner. With half a lap to go, with 2 laps to go, you're always constantly building a new strategy all the time and working on your feet. And that's what this was about. And that's why I think I was quite good at it. And you're right, there should be more motorsport people in there because that's the way that they think. They're always working on strategies on their feet at the time.
Have you kept up? Have you watched any more Survivor sort of since you were on the show? Something you catch every now and then at all?
No, because I live back in Europe. I live in Monaco or Monte Carlo in Europe. And I went back there full time 8 years ago. So I haven't been I'm very, very rarely in Australia. And you're lucky to catch me in this time. So I'm back home here. I'm doing property development. So I have a big project just finishing stage 1. So I came back to do that, get away from the COVID. But I'll be going back very, very shortly in the next couple of weeks. I'm doing a road tour right across to Perth on motorcycle, so with a bunch of guys. So it's kind of like our own Ewan McGregor show, but with all my mates. So I've never done that before. So now I'm rarely in Australia, and I reside overseas, and I'll be there probably for the rest of my life. I have businesses over there, and I've got lots and lots of friends, and I left Australia when I was 20 years of age, so I kind of not here that much in my whole life. So, but I'm here now, and but I was fortunate enough to be here when Celebrity Survivor was on. So I loved every minute of it, and if you asked me to do it again, I would. But I've got to be 20 years younger than what I am now.
Well, I got to say, just on the side note, not jealous at all that you live in Monaco. Why would I be? I have to ask from a Formula One fan's perspective, how close are you to the track? Do you just open your window when Grand Prix time's on and there's Lewis Hamilton driving past your window?
Monaco's only about 4 square kilometres. It's a tiny little place and with about 38,000 people that reside there, but everyone's not there all at once. It's a very transient society. The racetrack is the road. So they just close that off. And so they build that. It's always there ready 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior to the event. So I only live, 100 meters from it, so not very far.
Casual, just there it is.
Yeah. Well, it's there.
You get used to it. I mean, obviously that's kind of,
I've been here a long time, 40 odd years. So it's been a long time, and it just becomes second nature, and I don't even think about it now. So
I'm going to ask Matt's question here. And Matt, sorry if I'm jumping in here to ask this question. I mean, obviously behind you there, Wayne, you've got some memorabilia, your helmets, things like that. Did you keep anything from your time on Survivor? Did you keep any of your buffs or any of the things you had?
Do you know? I haven't found anything here, but I've probably got 500 or 600 square meters of memorabilia from my career, and you can probably see over my shoulder there's leathers, and there's books, and there's albums and trophies. I have rooms and rooms and rooms full of trophies and photographs, and I have a lot of memorabilia, not just here, but and this is my office, but I have in museums all around the world. I've got a lot of stuff out there that's on record. So, but I haven't found any of my Survivor stuff. I remember I used to have like the scarf on your head. I had the Survivor one of those, and I'm sure I've got it somewhere. But you know what? I've had 40 years of stuff piled up here in my warehouse here, and my assistant or my business partner now, Lisa, who sits just here, and she's made me go and start pulling the mess apart and try to, put it in compartments. And now I didn't realize I had so many helmets, and I didn't realize I had so many sets of leathers, and I didn't realize I had so many gloves and photographs and trophies and stuff that I've just never looked backwards. I never had time to look in here. I've got boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff, but it's been quite healthy for me, but I haven't been through everything at the moment. So hopefully I'll pick up some Survivor things, T-shirts and clothes that I was wearing and the bandanas and so on. So I know I have got it somewhere, but I just don't know where at this point.
If you do come across them, Wayne, definitely don't throw them out, because they're very rare, especially anything from your season. There was nothing ever, sold to the public or anything, especially those bandanas, the buffs. Very rare. I know we just interviewed Fiona Horn not long ago, and she has a great memorabilia collection from the show, which was fascinating, and stuff that obviously production gave her afterwards, like the little tree mails and all that sort of stuff. But it's definitely something, if you ever do come across it, definitely worth keeping. Now, before we let you go, Wayne, we have to talk to you about your movie, of course, titled Wayne, and it came out in 2018. How did all that come about?
When was that? It came out 3 years ago. A guy called Matthew. What's his name? Matthew from New Zealand. He contacted me, and he's a producer of documentary style movies. He read my book, which is actually up on the shelf just there. And actually, I'll go get it. Hang on.
Please do. Yes, come on. Everyone's got books, Matt. This is what we're covering, isn't it?
Ben, we're a fan of past Survivor contestants and books. I think, like we said, I'm the only one that hasn't written a book.
Bloody oath, Matt. Get on it. Get on write a book. Where's your movie? There it is.
So this book was written by a guy called Nick Hartbrink, the local guy here in Wollongong, and everyone knows I'm from Wollongong originally. So this was written back in about 88, 89. And he used to work at the Illawarra Mercury and he was also a journalist looking after my career. I hired him in the earlier days when I was trying to get sponsorship in Australia. Anyway, he came for the ride with me, and went through the winning of the world title and all the other things, and in the Wollongong whiz, and comes back to Wollongong with the Lord Mayor and the key of the city and da-da-da-da-da. So I told the story, he wrote it, and this sold, I think, something like 60,000 copies, and then that was ceased from there. So the copies, you see them around the place, and some of them just see them for sale, and people read them and then move them on and so on. And Matthew found one in New Zealand and bought it at the local markets and bought it. And he says he read it about 20 times. And he said, I just love the story. He said it was and I said, and then he came to me and he said, I make docos. And Matthew Metcalf is his name. And you have a production company in New Zealand. And he said, I want to make a movie. And I said, I think you're about 30 years too late, don't you? And he goes, no. He said, it's a great story. He said, no one's ever done this before on a rider, and, told their life story in a documentary style thing. And I said, oh, really? And he goes, yeah. I think it's going to be a big hit. And I went, well, okay, if you want, but I still think it's too late. And he said, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Because he said it's that 80s era was just amazing. Alan Bond and winning the America's Cup, and you and Pat Cash and and all these names. And he said, I really want to do it. I'm going to do an amazing job. I said, okay. So he said, I want to get Jeremy Sims, the actor here in Australia, to be the director. And so he said, I'd love to do it. And I went, okay, well, good luck. But he said, I need to go and find, I don't know, $4 or $5 million to put all this together. And I left it to him, and he did the running around the globe and found investors from the UK to Australia, and the Australian cinema people got involved, and they backed it, and so they got a budget together and decided to put it together. So then they wanted to meet Donna, my ex-wife, and we got her on side, and then they wanted to go and visit, and he read the book, and he said, "Oh, I've got all these people I want to go and interview." So they had a team of guys, and they flew around the world to talk to all my past competitors and my friends, and Donna, and they did a lot of research, collected all the footage from around the world. They sat upstairs here with all my memorabilia, and they sat there for 3 months documenting everything and went through photographs. And so they tried to match everything up with this book, what I had up in photographs and leathers and all this stuff here, as you can see. And they were beavering away that for years. And then they got the film ready. I went to the launch. I took my son Luca as well, and we went to the red carpet in Melbourne, the launch of it, and then we did lots and lots of red carpets in around Australia. Then we went to New Zealand, and yeah, it's been a big success. It's been around the world to all the cinemas in just about every country. It's even in Japan, I think, at the moment in a different subtitled version. It was in France with subtitles. So yeah, it's done the world. It's been in airlines. It's been in DVDs as well, and yeah, it's been very, very successful. Not one bad critic. The only criticism that I've heard from the journos is that, and from people, is that, oh, it's only an hour, 40 minutes. I want it to be 2 hours or 3 hours long. So everyone loved the story. But they were limited by the cinemas because they only allow docos around about 40 minutes maximum, 1 hour, 40 minutes.
Which I believe it's on Amazon Prime now if people want to catch it.
Is it? Yeah,
I believe so.
It's been on cable network, DVDs, JB Hi-Fi. You can get it anywhere like that. And everyone asked me in the world, oh, how do we get a copy? It's like a great mystery. But it's been a big success off the back of that, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm sure that now that a lot of writers have got stories to tell, and they'll probably go and do the same sort of thing in the future. But you know what's nice about it is for me, it's a mark in time that I can present to my kids.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Kids can take that and say and watch this and go, that's our dad. Do you know what I mean? So not that my kids want to at this point, but maybe when they get a bit older and a bit more mature, they'll want to know what my life was about. And, you know, if I sat and told my story, they fall asleep. If they sit and watch I've shown some of the videos. They've never seen all my races. Never.
Wow.
And if I show one, they go, oh, that'll do. That's enough. Yeah, good on you, Dad. Well done. Bye. So not impressed, you know. So, but my son's, he's obviously a Grand Prix rider now.
Doing very well, Remy.
For him, was all about beating me.
Yeah.
So our last time out, we rode together about 2 years ago prior to COVID, and he said, Dad, come and have a ride on my 600. I bet you can't get within 5 seconds of him. I said, oh, don't be stupid. That's ridiculous. I'll be probably faster than you. So I go out there on exactly the same bike, on exactly the same tires, and I couldn't get within 5.5 seconds of him. So
wow.
He goes, I told you. And he said, go have another go. Because I went and did a few laps, and he said, go and keep going. No, I said, no, I'm not going to go anymore because I'm going to be in the hospital next. So I said, I give up. I'll get in the car. I need to sleep now and a nap. I said, you drive home. So that was it.
You're at least happy that he's followed your path on the bikes, unlike Mick's son, who's gone the car route instead?
Yeah, look, motorcycles, I love motorcycles. You know, as you know, I'm going for a ride on Monday, you know, for 2 weeks, right across to Perth. So I love bikes. Remy loves bikes. My son Luca loves bikes. I didn't care what my kids did. I just want them to do whatever they wanted to do, but do it with passion and commitment. That's all I ask. And then they have to find their own way. I never forced them. I never force them even now. In fact, I'm always trying to tell Remy to slow down and not go as fast. But he's very, very good now, very, very fast. And hopefully this year he's going to have a big season. So, yeah, look, you know, I'm proud of him, but I'm still a nervous dad. watching.
What was that moment like, seeing him win the last round last season? I mean, kind of, you obviously you have such success in your own career, world champion, everything that I mentioned at the beginning. But I can imagine it's a different feeling seeing your son, following your footsteps. He's only one tier below MotoGP now. To see him win a race in Moto2, that must have been a pretty proud moment.
Look, he's come so close so many times. He'd been knocking on the door for about 2 years of winning. He just couldn't get all his ducks in a row, basically. The speed's there. The team that he was in was not quite good enough, to be honest, and the equipment he was riding was 1 year old. So he wasn't on the latest stuff. But, Remy's a very determined boy, and he doesn't give up easy. And he just kept fighting. But what was missing was his strategy on the track. That was it. His speed's there. He's qualifying. He's been on pole many, many, many times. He had an offer last year to race MotoGP, but he turned it down. That was with KTM. He thought that it wasn't the right time, and it wasn't quite the right bike. But since then, KTM have leaped another 10 steps forward. So he's now with KTM as a sponsor this year, and with the Moto2 team. And he's got a second-year option for MotoGP with KTM if they want to keep him. If not, he'll go. But if all goes well, I think he'll be in MotoGP next year, and he's going to be very, very fast. And I think in the long term, he'll be winning MotoGP as well. So I think he's going to be fast this year. I think he's good enough to win. Fingers crossed, he needs a little bit of luck, and I just pray that it's all going to be ending good and he comes home in one piece.
And Wayne, you'll have to get him to listen to this episode on our podcast, because maybe one day he'll want to be inspired to play a bit of Survivor as well.
Well, he's a very determined person, and he's very, very clever with his hands. I taught him all the technical side of the bikes, and obviously welding and all how to use tools and trades and things like that. And he's got his own workshop in Spain. He's got many, many bikes. He builds hot rod cars now. He's got a Volvo Amazon, something like a 69 with a 400 horsepower engine in it and airbag suspension. It drops on the road. He's insanely good about engineering. So in the paddock, in the GP paddock, he's probably the only person with those skills. Everybody else, it's just for them, just a job. But for Remy, it's his passion, is the mechanical side of it. So he's got a very good understanding of how a bike works, why it works, how cars. He's very good at driving. He's also got an Alfa Romeo GTV, a classic model. He loves classic cars, and he's nearly finished his Volvo. So he does club days, and now he wants to beat me in cars. And the last time I were out, he thinks he was faster than me, but I think I was a bit faster than him. But as you can see, I've got a very competitive family. And and as I keep telling him, he goes, Dad, I'm faster than you. I said, mate, I'm 61 years old now. You better be faster than me. Otherwise, you better retire, So, no, but he's great. I mean, I'm very proud of him. And my other son, Luca, he was racing bikes too. He's decided he wants to go down the music track now. He's got his own studio. He makes DJ and, party music. He loves a party. He's a party boy. And, but he's also working in construction, which is also another part of my business as well. So I'm training him up to, look after some of my property development businesses. So, he's good. He's great. He's riding a bike on the streets, and I just hope he's safe. But he's a good boy as well.
Wayne, it sounds like you definitely live a fast-paced lifestyle still, but have you kept in contact with anyone from the show?
No. He was good friends with Imogen. Amber, I was good mates with. Haven't seen her for a long time. I bumped into her one night at the casino in Melbourne many, many years ago. But my point to this is that I'm not here in Australia very often, so I don't really get to see that many Australians, let alone, celebrity survivors. So I hope that there's a big reunion one night and I can go to it.
We were going to say, Wayne.
Or they can come and see, they can come over to my place in Monaco and have a party at my place.
Well, maybe weekend in May, potentially, enjoy. If you ever want to,
come in the summer period.
If you ever want to invite any podcast hosts to that party, I might know a few.
We could do that. I'll get Prince Albert down to join the party as well. If you
absolutely, sure. That sounds like a good weekend.
Just make sure Dicko's there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I won't forget him, because the other people will come and rouse on me or do something to me. So,
well, the thing we'll say, Wayne, as we let you go, is that we covered season 1 of Australian Survivor and what we did sort of as we closed that off with a bit of a reunion. We got as many people as we could, and your season ultimately didn't even have a reunion like a lot of Survivor seasons do. So
No, it didn't.
Our plan is sort of as one of the final episodes of this season that we cover is whoever's available to join us for a Zoom reunion. It's obviously not quite the same as partying with Prince Albert in Monaco, but we'll try and make it as close to that as we can. But and obviously, if you're around then, you might be able to catch up with Leechy and Amber. Maybe we'll get Gabby on there and you two can have it out finally. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Well, that's right. I'm happy to join in, and I don't want to bring my boxing gloves. I come with love. Plenty of beers.
So for all the listeners out there, Wayne, that might want to follow you on social media or on websites, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I've got a really beautiful Facebook page. It's Wayne M. Gardner, and I'm on Instagram. It's the real Wayne Gardner, and and on Twitter. So, but I'm not out there for the limelight. I've got another business about to be launched in the next few months, but you'll have to wait, and I can't tell you what that'll be. But it's a very, very big project, and it's based in Germany. So
great.
I've kept busy. I'm loving life. I've had maybe 20 lives in one, I think, and I'm lucky to have survived it all. And I've got great kids, and I've done some amazing things, including being on Celebrity Survivor. So I've had a great life, and I can't complain.
Well, it's a perfect way to end this interview, Wayne. I'll let Matt have the final word, but I personally want to say it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. As I sort of said throughout this entire season, to me, going into this, when I saw the cast, I'm like, hands down, biggest guy on this season is Wayne Gardner, an absolute legend of sport in our country. And to chat to you about something that, as I said at the top of this interview, is probably something that, 1 in a million people might bring up with you. Hey, I remember you from Survivor. So we've really enjoyed having this chat, going down a memory lane of 15 years ago. And we appreciate it and hope we can speak to you on a reunion episode. I want the boxing gloves out with Gabby. I want this to happen come reunion time. So...
Oh, I'm happy to tackle Gabby, that's for sure. That's not a problem. And Dicko, if it has to be. But look, a few people have come up to me over the years and said, "Oh, we've seen you on YouTube on Celebrity Survivor. You look fantastic. It was great. A pity you got voted out by the girls." I went, "Yeah, I know. Don't remind me." So I want to give Gabby an uppercut maybe when I see her the next time. So,
well, we're having trouble tracking her down. Actually,
she's scared of you, Wayne.
She's
She heard I was after her, by the way.
Probably.
She's on my hit list.
but Wayne, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Like I said, I know you live a busy lifestyle, so to take the time today to talk Celebrity Survivor, mate, we're much appreciated. And mate, it's been a great yarn. It was great hearing some stories back from your time on Celebrity Survivor.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And as I said, I wasn't sure what I could remember out of this, but the more we talk about it, the more it keeps coming back to me. And but I certainly remember the days of, getting my eye poked out and then stealing all the cans of Coke and the biscuits and the matches, and it was a good way of surviving, too. And it is called Survivor, so I figured fair's fair, isn't it?